Hey guys, it's me, Anna, back again with another episode this week. I wanted to apologize for last week. Sorry there was no episode. I, of course, was super busy. We opened Sense and Sensibility on Friday, and I think it went really well. I wanted to thank anyone who saw the show this weekend, and I hope others of you can make it in the coming weeks. So I was super busy with Tech Week and opening and everything else that I do, so I wasn't able to do a full episode, but I thought this week would be really appropriate to talk about time management, since that was like all of what I was trying to do last week. So when I asked people on Instagram what they would like me to talk about, time management was something that came up. These are just like my thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts. My advice is definitely not, the be all end all. So I just want to kind of go through things that I think are really important, things that I either do or I'm trying to work on doing when it comes to time management, and kind of go from there and start the conversation from there. One thing when it comes to time management is to get super, super organized. So I am a very type A organization person. I love planners, I love taking notes, I love writing everything down. That's just very much in my personality, and I know that's not in everyone else's personality. So what I want to say about that is, if you're not really an organized person, just like inherently, I would definitely recommend becoming an organized person. I think that really the only way we can truly manage our time as artists is to write things down. As freelancers, I think things get really, really super crazy, and if we don't kind of take stock at okay, this is my timing, like for this thing, and then how long does it take me to get to the next thing? Because we never want to be late to things. So, I mean, for me right now, I am teaching voice lessons privately out of a home studio, and I also have a day job at a salon, and I perform. So it does get super crazy. And if I didn't write everything down and use like Excel spreadsheets and things like that, I seriously would not be able to handle the workload that I have. But again, I'm inherently a very organized person, and I really like writing things down and making lists. So that's something that I would recommend. Not to say again that I'm right, but I have noticed that the more I write things down, the more kind of almost over-organized I am, the better I am at managing my time and figuring out what I am physically able to do and what I'm physically unable to do. Because I mean, I live in Minneapolis, so I need to drive everywhere, and it takes time to get places, especially with the weather right now. So that's just kind of one thing that I would definitely recommend. How do you stay organized? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Do you bullet journal? Do you also do spreadsheets? Do you have a planner? Do you use your iPhone? I'd love to know, and I'd love to hear your suggestions on that. The next big thing when it comes to time management is boundaries, and being vocal about your boundaries. I 100% recommend being able to communicate and being very, very open to communication. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you haven't heard me talk a lot about communication. It's something that I'm very, very much for. I think that anything can be done, anything can happen, and you can advocate for yourself through communication. So if that means talking to coworkers, talking to colleagues, talking to stage management, talking to your boss at your day job, whatever it means, be very clear about what you can and cannot, again, physically do or mentally handle. I make sure that I'm very open and honest with everyone that I talk to about what I can and cannot do. And as artists, it is so, so, so difficult to say, I can't do that. We're told that that's not okay to say. We should be able to say yes to everything and do everything. And where, yes, I agree with that, but if you say yes to something and then you end up not being able to do it, like, again, physically, schedule-wise, I don't think that makes you look good. I think that you need to be open and honest with, I can commit to this time, or I cannot commit to this time. Because personally, I want to do a really good job at everything I do. And if I overload myself with work or shows or teaching, I will not do a good job at anything. And I'm very much learning that right now. So I would 100% recommend being able to communicate your boundaries and your needs with the people around you. So communicate your boundaries, super important. What do you do to communicate? Do you think it's a good idea? Anyone on the other side, any directors or stage management out there that can give me and us performers some insight into how you would prefer to communicate? I would love to know. The third thing that I think is super important when it comes to time management, and it kind of goes into boundaries and communication, is who are your outlets? Who are you able to talk to and say, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do this? So for me, it's my boyfriend and my mother. And I mean, I have a lot of friends too, but I understand that a lot of my friends are crazy busy too and dealing with the same things. So my outlet very much are these two people that are very, very close to me, who I can kind of reach out and say, look, I'm overwhelmed. What do I do? I also think that it's important to keep your priorities straight. I guess this goes into maybe a fourth thing, but understand what your priorities are. So what can you skip in order to stay sane? For me, sometimes I end up skipping going to the gym, or I end up skipping making myself dinner. These are just things that, yes, are really high on some people's priority lists, but are kind of relatively low on mine. I'm okay with grabbing a sandwich at the co-op, or I'm okay, snacking on some like crackers and cheese and kind of calling it a little mini meal. I don't advocate for like skipping eating altogether, not at all. But I'm just saying that like I'm okay with eating like a frozen burrito here and there, because I just sometimes don't have the mental capacity or physical time to make myself food. If that is high on your priority list, then what's low on the priority list that maybe you can skip? What's really high on my priority list is sleep. I really need a lot of sleep in order to function just within my day. I think, everyone recommends 8 hours of sleep. I think that there are people who can operate on 6 hours of sleep. I think there are people who can operate on 9 hours of sleep. I'm very much a person, I need like 7.5 to 8 hours, and if I don't get that, I'm really foggy, and I'm not the person that I want to be, again, when I'm teaching, when I'm performing, when I'm rehearsing, and when I'm doing all these things that I need to do. So sleep is super high on my priority list. So I skimp here in order to like do a lot here. So time management, I definitely think, is about finding out what your priorities are and realizing, what is my job? What is important right now? So this YouTube thing is very important to me, clearly. However, last week my job was to put together a show to open on Friday. And unfortunately, the YouTube thing kind of had to fall to the wayside. So again, this is just me kind of like spouting my ideas. I think priorities can be super important when it comes to time management and figuring out what you are physically capable of doing and mentally capable of doing. So those are my thoughts on time management. Again, kind of the first thing is to be super duper over organized and making sure that you're everywhere 5 to 10 minutes early and ready to go, especially when it comes to rehearsals, especially when it comes to auditions. Be on time to things, and that definitely, the first thing is to be super organized. And 2, communication and boundaries. I think that those things are super important to be able to communicate to people. And I know it's hard. I know sometimes it can seem like you're missing out on an opportunity, but I promise you from experience that if you communicate what you can and cannot do, a lot of times it'll work out for the best. But set those boundaries, communicate with people. That's how you can manage your time. 3 would be having an outlet, someone you can talk to, people you can talk to tell them, I am overwhelmed, I need help with this, what can I do? You know, even if it's a therapist, I mean, I talk to my therapist about it, super important to be able to kind of talk through your feelings. And 4 would be finding out your priorities. What can you skip in the name of mental sanity? What can you kind of take time from over here and move over there, and finding out what those priorities are, and they can change day to day, week to week, month to month, depending on what you're working on. So those are my thoughts about time management. That's how I kind of deal with the craziness. I'd love to know how you deal with all of that. As always, Instagram is kind of the best way to communicate with me. That's kind of where I get all of my ideas for this channel and everything. Feel free to comment as well on the video. I love reading all your comments. They're always really nice and really inspiring to me. Being a performer is hard. Time management is hard. It's not an easy thing to do. Again, I don't have a family. I don't have kids. I have a partner who is also very busy with work and works very crazy hours, and we're able to make it work, but it's just kind of the two of us. So I would love to know how you manage time if you have a family or if you have kids, or kind of how you deal with that. If you have a pet, I would love to have a dog. I know right now I can't handle that. So yeah, let me know kind of your thoughts on all of this. And I hope to see you around, either performing or, out and about. Thanks for watching.